things we're working on now for 2015, and some of the things we're working on now but will not make it for 2015.
Now, we didn't have Oracle here speaking, but I did steal a bit of information from Oracle.
Okay,
This is the Oracle Safe Harbor Statement. And while we're not publicly traded, we're going to show you all kinds of stuff that, I mean, we're doing this tongue-in-cheek, but seriously, the stuff we're showing you here, we're not necessarily guaranteeing will appear anytime necessarily soon. But we're kind of putting stuff out there, and we just don't want Robert to basically leave here and, like, the next minute change his whole direction, because I know, Robert, it took us about 5 years to get raster done for you. Some of these things may take 5 years.
Yeah, and some things we start working on, and then we, as we're getting through, we usually get smarter. When you start with an idea, you work through, and then you figure out, that's not really the way we want to do it. So some of just the things, our learnings,
yes,
this may just end up in
yes.
ways in our technology.
And I'll give you a little heads up. We are going to ask a poll. You're going to get to help choose the future of FME here today. So if you have that event app at the ready, we'll put a poll out there at some point, and then this afternoon we'll tell you the results. So anyway, let's go.
Let's look at the future.
All right. So first,
yeah, playing on the connect, transform, and automate theme. So first of all, what new things are we going to be able to connect to?
Well, let's take a look. SharePoint. At least Tyson is here. I know he's been waiting for that. Yeah. Well, there's a. Well, okay. They most don't want to clap, but they'll put up their hands.
Yeah, it's okay. You can clap.
Yeah. So anyway, just to show this is a fine SharePoint list. Our problem is that SAFE does not use SharePoint. So we're in a little bit deep to support this thing because we don't know what we're doing. And so we need your help. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That hasn't stopped us in the past. But please, if you are a SharePoint fan, go over to the doctors. There is a questionnaire. We're using Google Docs to get people's input on what exactly, because we thought, how hard could SharePoint be? Well, it's a list or something. Well, it turns out when we crack it open, there's a lot of depth in there, and we want to understand what parts of SharePoint you'd like us to do. So anyway, this is a list of some kind. And there's something you probably can't read.
Yeah, it's basically adding it's just adding a SharePoint.
Right, this you might be able to read. Yeah, so, and we're seeing the lists down at the bottom where you can't read them again. But anyway, that's the idea. And then out comes this. And there it is, a bit zoomed in. Some really important bonjour. It's French. That's the most French I can speak, actually, right there. Two of it. Looks like 3 bonjours in a row.
Obviously, heavy-duty testing and real data.
So that is actually live like a couple days ago in our office. We're underway reading these lists. Please talk to Ryan, and I think it's also Ryan.
And how about writing?
Well,
are we going to do writing too? Yeah, we will. But
sure.
It's going to be a little, because we anticipate that you're probably going to want to read it, and then who knows, we might update a document or something and want to put it back.
I mean,
now we're working on the reading in particular.
That's right, the reading of lists, but then there's metadata of the lists, and there's also actual files. You can use SharePoint to manage files, and so we're interested if people want us to be able to scoop files out of SharePoint and put them back in. I see at least a few people nodding, so please let us know. We were afraid that was going to happen, and so anyway, we realize our work is continuing there.
Yeah, IFC writing, and so with 2014 we added Revit reading, and then we recognized that the other thing we really need to do to be serious on the BIM side is IFC writing. So we have, we sent Joel off. He used to work in Surrey. We sent him to
Hungary, but he got kicked out of the EU. And we were told briefly he was in the NIMO, and then Don thought, well, really, he's actually working out of his house in Vancouver and just not coming into the office for a year. But anyway, he's out there somewhere.
So it doesn't matter. Joel, wherever you are, keep up the great work.
Yes. He didn't get to come to this thing either.
No.
Oh, well. Too bad for you, Joel. But anyway, so he's off somewhere. Don is disappointed because there is an XML version of IFC, but it's a travesty because
but there's a new version of XML coming out as well, IFC 4 or 5.
Yes.
And that actually, I was told the XML there is more sane.
Okay.
And so we can support that. But the nice thing that Joel did is the IFC is actually 2 parts. He's building the internal data model of what IFC is, doing all that. And then there's just the syntactic about how it's sprayed to disk.
Right.
And so he's handling that part, and then adding the different ways it's sprayed to disk is completely separate, much, much easier than all the difficult things about how 3D is represented in IFC versus other systems.
So we're ready for IFC 15, basically. Right, so bring it on. So anyway, we're going to understand all these building kinds of things like walls and beams and all those sorts of things that keep places like this standing up. And then you can output them. We understand whatever these things are, property sheets, property something, I don't know what. But it lets us do something. Here's an example that is apparently live, taking a microstation floor plan, and then you run it through FME to clean it up a little bit. And then from there, out we go into a BIM model that some of you that use BIM would know that product, Celebri.
Viewed, obviously, it doesn't count much when we view it in our own viewer.
Yes.
And so we like to do things in other viewers. So this was done in a viewer called Celebri.
I don't know, Celebri. I'm sure that all the IFC people in here, exactly. But here's another one. You can tell how excited they are. We can take building footprints. I'm excited. This is from Yavla. So, is anybody here from Yavla? Not a single one. That's disappointing. They're keeping their goat from burning down. Yes. So actually, we should probably be able to do a 3D goat model with this thing. So we'll have to do that. So anyway, Yavla is famous at SAFE because they have the best building footprint data set of any city I've ever seen, because they sent some poor Swedish people around to measure the height to the eaves and then the height to the roof at top. And so they have that for the whole place, which lets us do lots of fun things. So anyway, that's the ingredients. Then we, do that, and out comes this.
Yes, and it looks much better on the monitor. I can see down here.
How about that one? So this is actually in Revit. So we actually took that raw material and produced something that the Revit people can have. And this is the dream. I know there's no...
To be clear, this was Revit reading the IFC we wrote.
That's correct. So that's how that got in there. And this has been the dream of some of my Norwegian... Robert, if you waited a long time for raster, these Norwegian guys have waited way longer for us to do this. I probably lost track of the first email. But they asked us to create something that would give them what they called a slim BIM. So a slim BIM means let's take the raw ingredients at a GIS that isn't good enough for real BIM, but gives us a starting point, and now we'll go in and use the high-end tools of Revit to take it the rest of the way.
Scandinavians are patient, we know that.
We know that, exactly. They're cool and they're patient. Okay, and speaking of cool, what could be cooler than Minecraft? So Ulf had a monopoly on Minecraft for a while, and flogged it for all it's worth, and really, frankly, changed the world. And so it was time for us to get on board. And so Minecraft comes to FME. So here's what a workflow would look like. And let's zoom in a little bit. I think I got it zoomed.
When's this going to appear in a beta?
No, I don't. I don't know when it's going to appear in a beta. Is Ryan in here? Or
Yeah, he's in here.
Ryan, which co-op is working on this again? Bruno? Well, that's Bruno. Get working on this. People want this. So anyway, I suspected this will get in a beta in the next, I don't know, a couple months, yeah. But anyway, you can get a sense. I hope you can read it from back there. But basically, as Ulf discovered, all that Minecraft is a point cloud of regularly spaced points that get rendered as cubes. And because FME has a very rich point cloud data model, that lets us annotate each point with lots of information that's very important, like whether this is a zombie or a goat or a brick, these sorts of critical pieces of information. And then we can annotate that and put that out into Minecraft. So it's all LiDAR stuff. It's all point cloud operators that are being used here, which makes it very, very fast. The FME point cloud subsystem is really great at handling large volumes of data. And spoiler alert, we don't have a single slide about that, but we are looking at employing, and Ulf also was the pioneer of this as far as I know, employing point cloud technology in FME for non-point cloud large data volumes. So you want to...
We call that information cloud.
Right.
You might read a CSV or a table with points or not, or
just
no spatial data at all, and as one feature, and then we have some nice operators so you can work on the whole thing as a unit.
Right. So you read that 6 gigabyte, I think, is the biggest one we've seen. 6 gigabyte CSV file as a single object. It reads like that. And now, instead of making 60 million features, we make one feature, and then you whack it with these point cloud transformers, which are very fast. And then eventually, maybe you kick a subset of those points out into real features to take the rest of the way. But the goal will be to see how far you can make it through FME, staying with that whole thing as a single point cloud. And we might do the same thing for tables as well. So anyway, I don't know how we got into that, but...
It was good.
It was good, though. So there's source data. Here we are inside Minecraft, looking at it. There we are again, nothing like a Minecraft screenshot. We're going to soon have the obligatory Minecraft screenshot.
Looks like a goat's on there somewhere.
Looks like, I don't know. I don't know. Could be a zombie. So that's really bad. You know, I was kind of worried when that 311 demo in New York was just done when Adam clicked that, because if you recall back to day one, we had a zombie outbreak in Manhattan. And when it said dead, but it was just a dead tree, so wasn't that scary. So anyway, yes, there's this one problem. We do have a bit of an unobtainium issue because all these scenes are floating, like the bottom doesn't get filled in, and so we're going to need some Swedish insights as to how to make good Minecraft models. But this should allow a lot of interesting things. Ulf has been, and his team have been pioneering this area, and we're really pleased to be able to sort of democratize that and get it out to everybody else. One other thing, if you listen carefully to Ulf's speech, he ended by saying, baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. And what he was saying is that gaming engines as a destination for the high GIS data volumes that we're getting, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So we'll look forward to seeing Ulf inside of Halo or wherever he's going to end up next in his never-ending quest to be the cool dad. So, yeah, okay, SketchUp to Minecraft. Again, what we do here is take the SketchUp model, and a little-known functionality in FME is this fact that, where is it?
You can convert it to a point cloud. So you can take a 3D model, and with one transformer, you can convert that 3D model into a point cloud.
And then that maintains some of the information that we had to begin with, and so then we can go through and filter that resulting point cloud and label different pieces with what they actually are to make the different kinds of bricks. And so you end up with a SketchUp model that look like this inside of Minecraft like that. So there you go, SketchUp to Minecraft. We could easily, I know Ulf has done IFCs to Minecraft. The same technology or same technique will work. So there we are inside the house. So that, and the windows are even windows, and pretty amazing. And so that's that.
So web services, we had a good discussion when we talked about real time, we talked about sensors. We talked about, in the zombie demo was great because he pulled together a whole bunch of web services. And really, as we expand FMEs beyond spatial, web services is the thing that we're really excited about. And this is actually here, we're going to talk about how we make it easier, because many of the web services out there are using this thing called OAuth 2. And OAuth 2 is a non-trivial way, but a very secure way to connect to web services. So what we want to do is make that very easy for you to use FME to connect to those. Also, somebody asked earlier about database connections.
Yes.
One of the doctors. I have 50 workspaces, and they all have the same data. I connect to the same database. Somebody changed the password. What do I do? And so this whole idea that we're solving for web services is also going to solve the problem for databases, i.e. have connections that are separate from the workspace that then you can use.
Yeah, one of the great things about OAuth 2 and these web services is just like in spatial, there is a bit of a standard, but
it's a guideline.
it's really more of, yeah, it's not really a standard. So every web service we've seen tends to, I think Brittany would nod her head, that there's almost none that are the same in terms of how you authenticate. And so we're building a very general framework, piles and piles of plumbing to manage this, to take that pain away from you. So we will figure this out, and we will wrap it up and have a way that if Martin figures out how to configure, say, a Twitter web service and authentication, he can share that with everybody, and nobody else needs to figure out the strange Byzantine steps needed. And this is what we're already underway. I think Brittany, you've done a handful of them, right? Actually, Don, what was the one that you just asked them to do?
NetAtmo, because I have little thermostats at home that are on the web, and I like to look on my phone and see how warm it is in my house for some reason. And now with FME, with the stuff Brittany did, I can actually connect to it with FME server, and it uses OAuth, and then you can just start to read.
But it also was a different dialect.
It was a different dialect.
Yep. So this is just some of this. There's also simpler forms of authorization as well, which we're doing at the same time.
Yeah,
so
imagine if there was no JSON or XML. Just saying.
Yeah. You want me to say that or not?
Yeah, you can say it.
Imagine if there was no JSON or XML. There. Just imagine. Okay, so this is the idea. There'll be a way that you can define these like that. Yeah. But the more important thing is you'll be able to define, once the way of connecting is defined, and most of you won't have to do that. We will try to do that for you. We'll ship a whole bunch. Then you will go and say, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to add a new connection to my BigQuery and do that authorization step. It'll save that locally in your FME environment, and from then on, you just have like Dale's BigQuery connection.
That's right. So then if you had 50 workspaces that use that connection and a password or something changed, you would go edit that one connection, and then all those workspaces would just run with that new information.
So as Don hinted at, we built this infrastructure for web services because we needed to. We couldn't get away with not doing it, but what falls out of it is a revolutionary way of us dealing with database connections, which that's something that affects all of you. And so our goal is, I don't know if we'll make it in 2015, but soon, you will no longer have passwords in workspaces. So passwords in workspaces will never happen. Instead,
what if I have a bunch of workspaces that already have passwords and I'm happy, thank you very much?
Then good news, you can keep using them.
Okay.
But you won't be able to make new ones like that.
Right.
So as another thing, we haven't talked about at this conference, but we try so desperately hard to make sure it's safe that if it worked in 1997, it'll work in 2015. We try so hard on that, and that actually is an incredible set of handcuffs that our poor developers have to live within, that they have to maintain backward compatibility, and we do handstands to do that, and this will be maintained here as well. Okay. There we go. Yeah, so no passwords. And you'll see this kind of thing. You'll be able to see your connections. And there are lots of issues to work through when we're doing this. This one in particular.
Yeah, how do we get those then to server? Because of course you have workspaces running on the desktop. You want to publish those to server. You want to have connections also that work on server.
And so there is going to be a notion of being able to make a connection private to a workspace, which means if you publish that to server, that connection will be copied up to server, but nobody will be able to know that it's there. That would be the way that, like if you wanted to make a web service that's going to put stuff into your own Postgres database for some reason, and you want everybody to use it but not know that it's going on, that's how you do it. You'd make the connection private and everything would just work. On the other hand, if you wanted to make a web service that loads into anybody's Google Maps engine account, then you would make that connection public, and when someone went to run that thing, they would have to authenticate using the Google OAuth stuff, and it would just all work. That's the goal.
Yeah. And people also won't have access if you give them a workspace with a connection. They also won't be able to pull out your secret key or
right.
whatever.
All that stuff will be hidden. So it's a big job. If anybody's interested in that, Brittany's right there. Wave your hand, Brittany, and Shelley must be here somewhere. They're the ones plumbing away on that, and talk to them or make a doctor's appointment. Let us know. If there's any web services that would be really useful for you to be able to connect to, because we're looking for a wide breadth of ones, because as we've seen, all are different, and we want to make sure we're being general enough.
That's right.
All right, web file systems.
Yeah, so more and more people are putting their data in the web, and so in the cloud, so the idea is we want to make FME treat the web, all these web file systems as if they're local. So then you can start to work with data, whether it's in the cloud or locally, in the same way.
So what's the one on the far right?
That's S3.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I added that this morning.
No, that's, I was wondering, I was afraid about what that could be. So anyway.
I thought maybe it was some XML data store.
Yes, it's an XML file system. So the vision here, and this actually falls out of our work on web services more generally. We will still need all that connection stuff and authorization stuff, but if we get that figured out, then whenever you are opening a data set to read or to write, you will have a pull write thing, which you probably can barely see. This is the data set thing. Whoa, when I'm up here, oh, it moved on me. There it is. But let's zoom in. Oh, I didn't zoom in. Okay.
It's okay.
So,
it's okay.
oh,
it's okay.
there it is.
There it is.
You can see, you pull right, you'll select your web file system, and these will be the ones you'll have configured. And from there, now we got some work to do because we have to build a browser or a way to navigate paths and things regardless of all these things. But we're starting to see it. I mean, this isn't just us making this fun idea up.
No, we're actually working it, and yeah.
And customers want it.
And really the thing with FME has always been, where we want to access your data wherever it is. So organizations are moving to the cloud. We don't want to say to you, oh, copy it down, right? And we did that first with our adding the FTP and HTTP. Now you can just point to Vancouver Open Data, you can have a task that runs every night. You're just going to grab the latest data. You don't have to go copy it down, run it locally, and then delete it. It's all handled for you behind the scenes. So
Right.
That's exactly what we want to do with these.
Right, so we'll, right from the desktop, you'll be able to push stuff right to S3, read from S3.
It looks
But
like also to create an email, a Gmail, and then have it as an attachment.
I'm curious what Shelley was up.
Well, that must be what that means.
I don't know. Well, actually, I know that there were people that had built file systems on top of Gmail. There is something, like, does anybody remember that? There was some sort of thing like that, which would simulate a file system just using your 5 gig or whatever it is, or no, actually probably more. How much do you get on Gmail now for free? 15 gig? It's probably changing every minute, so...
That's right, it's more than it was a minute ago.
Right, so that isn't unrealistic that you might store your files in Gmail. There you go. So, now... All right, so the first thing is just to look at one. I just threw this in because it seemed to be coming up all over, and if you didn't see Lassie Tanny's talk yesterday, you will, and you like PDF, you'll want to get that on tape delay. But he showed a lot of output going to PDF. It's a common, actually Glenn Leatham is in here. I think, Glenn, you're the guy that tweeted once is that PDF is the place data goes to die. But that seems in line with our zombie theme, but maybe a little morbid. But it is a useful place for data to kind of, as an endpoint, true enough. So the coroner's guys would like that probably. But people do want to get it out to that because it democratizes the data again so that can be widely used.
Yeah, and many great maps. The paper maps are still out there, and some people want to use them. There's some environments where you want a paper map because maybe it's hostile to anything electronic, and so being able to produce these PDF documents is
yes.
It's one of the, I'm pretty excited about this one. I know you are too. Because we've seen people who, even now with FME, have made amazing PDF documents, and you look at their workspaces and you're like, ooh, I'm really sorry you have to.
It's interesting.
Go through that.
I mean, the PDF writer in FME, if you like puzzles, the PDF writer it's written years ago by a co-op student who's gone on to get a PhD in astrophysics or something. And he probably is. He's probably landing people on Mars, actually. And I would fly in that craft because he wrote that thing. None of us can figure out how it works. But
he does more in one for loop with one line of code than I can do.
Yeah, so it's been a little bit, but it's worked amazingly, and it has all these hidden capabilities. I mean, our own staff would be telling customers, no, you can't write multi-page PDF, no. And in fact, there was a customer document where it was one of the X's against SAFE is that we couldn't write a multi-page PDF. Well, the answer is we could since like the year 2000, but nobody knew. And so this is the...
Like that American Hero spacesuit.
Yes, the greatest American hero. We'll have another 80s reference for you there. It didn't really have a manual with it, and so you had to discover these things. So anyway, we're on our way to discovering it, and actually the people working on this, Vedran and Ryan, were surprised because what this thing is going to do, if you can see over here, it'll be another one of our dynamic... Whoa, it's moving on me. Lunge at it. Next time I'm going to move faster. Okay, so you'll be able to drag different things in here. For example, let's say the output of a Mapnik rasterizer could be coming in here, and a title bar from somewhere, and your company logo maybe. And then, so you route these all in, and then you'll define where on the page they're supposed to go. Yeah. And right now, in the prototype, we're doing it by getting you to type in inches. I think you can change the centimeters, right, Ryan's, for all of our veteran? Where is he? So centimeters will be allowed, and there must be one more unit, I think, points, if you think in terms of that. But where we're going to go right after we get this working is we'll let this be, dare I say, graphical. So you'll be able to draw a little box and say, okay, here's where this will go, that'll go, and that'll go. And you'll be able to pump your data in there, and
It'll just work.
It'll just work. Ryan, are we going to do multi-pages with this thing?
I think we're going to have a PDF page 2 format.
There we go. I love that idea. That's why Don gets paid the big bucks at SAFE.
I see the big picture. I understand.
Great. So anyway, if you're interested in PDF, please visit the doctors. Ryan and Vedran would love to talk about this.
Yep.
And this is the kind of thing, very wonderful first output. Nothing to do with maps, though.
Still, I don't even want to think about how many transformers that would have taken.
Yes, yes. So now, let's take a look at some workbench things. And I'm a little nervous about this part. Here's where the shortcut to remember for your voting. I'm going to show about 6 or 7 proposed workbench enhancements. And if you follow or remember to go to fme.ly/Franken. Okay, there's a little hint there where we're going with this, but anyway, we'll revisit this. This will come back later, but as it says here, actually, if you're from Ontario, you should be doing this. Vote early and vote often.
Okay, I can vote for everything.
You can vote for, you can, you don't, it's one of these cases where if you vote for everything, you'll effectively have told us, well,
I like it all.
you like it all. And so that doesn't, great, that's wonderful to know. But if there are a few things that you value more than anything else, choose your vote carefully.
Okay.
So
Can you vote more than once?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But you can vote, yep. What do you need me to do? Oh, move out of the way? Okay, there it is.
There we go.
All right, we'll bring that back at the end. Probably you shouldn't vote before you actually see what these things are, but all right. So this one isn't votable because it's already done. But we had, one of the problems with doing 325 formats is that long ago, Don and I invented our own terminology for everything. And much to our surprise, all of you don't necessarily use that same terminology. And so we have a lot of new users, for example, using spreadsheets, and they don't think that every sheet
Is a table.
or is a feature type.
It's a feature type.
Yes. So what we're doing is going through an exercise where we're going to try to use format-specific terminology in all of our dialogues. And this will help. What we're really trying to, I have a big thing on my wall.
It must be a DWG file then, because it's called layer.
That's right. I have a big thing on my wall talking about the first 15 minutes that says, what's the experience like for someone the first 15 minutes they use FME? And using strange terminology, as generic and wonderful as it is, isn't necessarily helpful. So that's the thing. And if you're a map info guy, you'll see table there. And our GME person would see table. Anyway, we're trying to roll through and do this kind of thing.
An Excel person would see sheet.
That's right. So it'll just calm them down, relax them. It'll be wonderful. Because that's one thing that excites Excel people is when they don't see sheet there. So this is, you can't really see too much here, but let's see. Maybe this is a bit better. The idea is to take those transformer dialogues that I know you love to click and pop up and have in a modal way and make them non-modal and dock to the right-hand side. So as you click on the transformers, the parameters will just be there. And I think this is a great thing. Yeah, oh, Bruce Harold. Especially if you have a 4K monitor like those guys yesterday at the Science World. So yeah, you can see what that'll look like. So that's great. Let's just roll the video here, maybe. This is one that, if we're going to be docking everything more, then maybe we'll want to have a way to hide these. And so, so as you move the mouse off, I know you guys did this in ArcGIS years ago. Do people use it in ArcGIS? Do they like it? You think so? Yeah. So only about 8 years later, we'll do the same thing. Yeah. Well, it's not done yet. This is this actually is done, but we're not sure we like it. So it gives you the idea that, as you'd move your mouse around, things would pop up and down. If this would be helpful to you, let us know. I'm not sure. Maybe the fact is everybody has ultra-wide screen monitors, so they don't care about hiding things.
I'd want to turn it on and off.
Yeah.
Because I'm working on a plane with my air.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
I need the space. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So let's see how this is going to work for me. I'm a little nervous. We're going to, these are things that are barely known. Oh, and this was a demo I wanted to show. This is the workspace that simulates an ArcGIS feature service. And actually, I'm going to just try my hand at going here. This is what, it's XML's little buddy. So this is a feature service that's going to try to read the buses of San Francisco. Uh-oh. This has gone mobile. Okay, here we go. Add layer from web. So ArcGIS Online. I paste in the feature service URL. I say add layer. Having not tried this really. Oh, there it worked. So, it sort of worked. I ran out of, this is just a prototype, and I'm only able to get one bus on there.
But it's the bus he cares about. So
Yes.
He cares about all those other buses.
Right, and so I can click on it. The interesting thing is that ArcGIS Online doesn't know, or maybe it does, and that's why it's only showing one. But anyway, in theory, it doesn't know that that is coming from an FME, or basically a non-ArcGIS server, because I'm using the publicly documented GRS Services API to simulate that. And this is the workspace that does that. So when we come in, if you're interested in writing web services with FME, there's a webinar or a short talk was done on this, on how to do this. So anyway, but I got this thing, and can you see that? Yeah, they can see. So if I drag this guy around, whoa, it snapped to that grid. And Bruce Harold, this one's for you. There we go. Oh, yeah, it snaps. And so...
Am I able to change the size of the grid?
not right now. Yes, that's the goal. That's the goal. Whoa. And you can see I got some other troubles because... Yeah. Bruce, I think, wants a more coarse grid. Oh, I know what's wrong. I got click. Oh, I got big troubles in here.
Yeah.
Oh, I think... oh, yeah, I got troubles. Anyway,
okay.
so you got the
Beta
idea.
software.
Yeah. Snap to grid. The one thing is, as well, I don't know if you can see it back there, but as I'm going, something's happening on the left-hand side. Let's just say I put a cloner into here. Oh, I can't do it. Well, let's just say I delete this there. Whoa, I just deleted something. And then I go, you know what? I want to go back in time to the old days and go back to here. And then instead, I'm going to go and try to do this. Yeah, you can click. And some people like that. I can't select anything. I got some other trouble. But the idea is that I'm able to go back in time, see this, and actually, if I was, okay, maybe I can delete this.
Yeah. So imagine you spend an hour working on something, and then you realize after you've done this for an hour, oh crap, it was so much better an hour ago. Right? Now you can keep hitting Control-Z, 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 hoping that you're going to be in good shape. Or you can just, now you'll be able to go back and say, just roll me right back to an hour ago, and then boom, you're going to be there.
But you can fork. You can see, like I've got this set of changes going up this side, or this set of changes here. So you can kind of see where you were and what, yeah, Brett.
Does that also include a nice prompt right at the very start to say, save my file, save my workbench? Still trick for new players
That don't
go and automatically.
save things. Well, we should do that. Yeah. But anyway, that's the idea.
No.
Yeah, the answer is no.
But
So,
it was a great idea.
yes. So,
Does that work on the temporary one?
yes, this works on the temporary one. Yeah. It'll work. So you'll have the whole thing. And so here's another one that I got. And so let's just drag this guy. Oh, man, Don, I can't drag.
Pilot PR.
This is a real drag because, okay, here we go. No, oh yeah, it is working. So now if I hit plus there, maybe I can do this. I shouldn't have gone full screen. There we go. So what if I drag this? Whoa, it's lining up and snapping to match that guy. I don't know if you can see it in the back, folks, but there's these guides that are appearing. And when I go over here, you see that just kind of snapped to line up. When we did a poll, and 80% of you say you make your workspaces neat by manual fiddling. And so this...
And so this will help you.
This will help.
Fiddle.
Bruce was the only other guy that just makes a really coarse grid like it's a checkerboard and fits them in like that. So that's that one. So you get the idea for this guides business that'll help line stuff up. And now...
It would be cool if I could have grids that were different in the Y than the X.
Yeah, you can.
I could make my Ys about as high as those
Yes.
transformer things, and my other ones as
Right.
wide as them, and then they would automatically snap into slots.
That was when we got rid of the grid. Bruce was the guy that said to us, it was the first we heard of this, that he used to make a very coarse grid and then have stuff basically just snap into place like that. We only ever, in our own office, used a fine grid, which we thought, what's the deal with that? So Bruce, thanks for advocating for that. The last thing is, let's just see if I can get this to go. Oh, no, I need a mouse. Don, oh, there we go. Let's just see. Oh, there we go. So, that's...
It always amazes me that the smallest thing... it's sort of like when we added the pink dot. Now, I know there's controversy, is it purple, is it pink? But when we added that was, huge. And so...
Yeah. The other thing is, Brittany and Shelley have spent roughly 8 months toiling away doing web services, not a single clap. And Chris Scrimger spent roughly 3 hours on this so far.
Yeah, that's right.
So anyway,
Yeah.
it looks like folks like that one, so that might get a few votes. So,
What happens if you zoom out, though?
what do you mean if I zoom out? I don't know. Which way, like this way? It'll keep,
It keeps its size.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
How about collapsible bookmarks? Who would like collapsible bookmarks?
Well, a smattering of applause. Nice try, Don.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's another thing. So anyway, those are some of the things that we're working on. I did this just in case I wasn't able to get it to work. So the history tree that tells you what's going on with Fine. You know what? This looks like VIC-20. Don't you think, Ulf? Inspired by the VIC-20, our tree diagram there. So we're going a little retro there. Yeah, that's one small step for a man. So there we go. So you'll be able to do that, and I'm sure that'll be controversial.
I'm sure it will be.
But you don't have to use it if you don't like it, I guess. So there we go. Okay.
Frankenbench.
Right. So let's see if I can get this thing to work. Oh, man.
Ah, you have your thing still set to pause.
It shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I turned mine off.
Well, what is Frankenbench? Do I have? We'll go back, and while that's waking up, let's tell you what that is. Maybe.
It's probably up right
There. So the idea of Frankenbench is let's bring the data inspector inside of Workbench.
You're working with the safe format there.
I know, and I did this last night when I was practicing this. I thought we should go back and use the very first data set that we ever had, 92B034. It's a beautiful data set, and the funny thing was, I viewed it last. This literally it goes back to '93. That was the data set that was the test data set for BC Trim, and I actually never knew where it was. And last night, I for the first time, I had background maps on, and I went, "You're kidding me!" And you know, it's a tiny island. It's a joke, Don. It's a joke. We'll see maybe now if I'm lucky. Yeah, whoa, that's pretty wild. Here we go. So the Frankenbench is here, and I'm a little nervous. I remain nervous because literally Angus gave me this at 1:30 in the morning on Monday. So let's go and add a reader to the Frankenbench. And I'm going to go retro here, and I'm going to go to 92B034, the original save file. And sure, should I take them all, Don?
Go for it.
Okay. So there they all are. And so if I go here and right-click on one of these guys and say inspect, something happens. Come on, Frankie. Here we go. And we see something like that. And I mean, there's lots of interesting issues with this thing, but we do this, and I can flip over to the graphics view. And there we see, for the first time ever, that this data set is just off Victoria.
Absolutely.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Right. All those years we were working in that little island, and we never knew where it was. What's that? Yes, that's right. I learned that last night. So that's one of the things you can do. And then let's just say we wanted to do something else with this. And of course, I can click on stuff and see all the goodies down here, over on the whatever side that is. And if, let's say I wanted to go and do some work here, I could go and click on this, and just for fun, let's buffer that guy. Let's say, what sounds good to you, Don? This will give us a sense. Let's do what, a 15-meter buffer around that thing?
Sounds great.
Okay, and I'll add an inspector to it. And, I'm tempted to go off-roading. I'm going to add an inspector to this one as well. So connect inspectors. I got two of them on here now, the original and that. And we'll see what happens if I run this thing. And there we go. So far, so good. Yep. And we go to the graphics view.
And I imagine this is a dockable window I could drag out and put on my other monitor.
Yes. I must have goofed up here because I don't see my other. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. It just took me a moment to see it. So anyway, that's a pretty darn small island.
It is.
If that's 15 meters, all this time I thought it was like a giant island somewhere. And but anyway, this is the idea of the Frankenbench. It is going to be very well suited to a 4K display because there's lots of stuff going on. Right now we have dockable window explosion with this thing.
Or multiple monitors. A lot of people now have multiple monitors.
But the convenience of having it in one app, even if you drag this to other real estate, might be worth it. So let us know if you like the Frankenbench idea. There it is. Wow, it worked. Great job, Chris. And, well, Chris actually didn't do that. Sorry, Chris did all the guides. Great job, Angus, Ian, and Harbinder, and others that put that together. All right. So this is where you vote. And now we go to the more relaxing part of the talk.
Okay. So what's going on with FME server?
And our sound man should get ready because we have a wonderful soundtrack coming up, okay?
Okay. So the first thing is we talked about how people are moving their data into the cloud. At SAFE, we use Dropbox, we use Google Drive, we use S3, and we never have this FME cloud thing, but there's no way right now to just access those easily from wherever they are. So what we want to do is you put your data in the cloud wherever you want, and then you'll be able to just directly access it from server without having to move it or anything like that. So this is the interface. So this is the interface today. This is our second interface, much better than our first. And but as we play with FME server, we visit other sites and see how they've done things, we are going to completely change the FME server interface.
Hiring some designers also plays a role.
Yeah, so Peta's up here. Where is Peta?
There she is.
There she
Yeah.
is. So she's the one responsible for this new look. So the other problem, and there you go there. So
you want to show it?
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
So there it is on a computer, and then you have your tablet on the side. So we're using Twitter Bootstrap, so it'll be completely resizable. So now you will actually be able to use look at FME server on a mobile phone, whereas now it's very difficult. Yeah. And we've also moved away. It's much easier for you to create automations. Let's face it, you publish something to FME server, you want to run that task in some way, and upon those automations. And so no longer will you have to go through this, using handstands, create a topic, go in, do something over here, remember the topic, pick the topic. There's a lot of things you have to remember. Now you'll just say, hey, whenever a file appears in this Dropbox, I want a job to run. This is a job I want running after. I want to do this. So.
Right. So again, we talked about terminology. If you're an FME server user or end user, you will no longer need to really be hit with terms like topics, subscriptions, and publications, repositories. All those really cool technical terms will be hidden behind things like triggers and automations. It'd be much more natural flow to things. So let's see. Should we we'll roll the vid?
Roll the video, so here comes the sound.
Okay, hopefully, if we're lucky. So this is an artist's conception of what this is going to, I think. Oh, nice relaxing sound. Just. Those are the. So when a mail is received or a directory is watched, there's drafts, the concept of things you're sort of working on but not done yet. Choose a trigger, what's going to cause things to start. And choose the action, what do you want to have happen?
Maybe you want to move it into GME. These are just parameters. That's how this works.
So this is the published parameters would appear in there. Oh, WFS version, Don, that's pretty. And so you can actually chain several actions to happen one after another based on whatever the trigger was. Just about makes me cry, Don, this music. It's pretty emotional. Yeah. We needed this for Don yesterday, I think. So anyway, you get to the bottom, and now you'll end up having saved and activated, or just save it as a draft. Name it. There we go. So there it is. Their song comes to an end.
Yeah.
And that's.
So you can look forward to that in 2015.
Yeah.
Okay, server deployment today. Okay, so this is a build here. So right now when you buy a server, you have this thing called a license server. You might, let's say you have 6 machines with engines on them. Yep, the build, yep. And so what happens is each engine machine has a license file that has to point to the server core. It's one
I've
do I
never
push?
seen
Which
these
one do I
slides.
push?
The big green
The
button there.
big green button with the arrow. Okay.
I'll let you run this.
There's 4 buttons though, and I'm gonna push this laser. Yeah. I was in one once, and Dale had a laser, and he whipped it around. He almost blinded me. I fell off the stage. Went to that part's not true. Anyway, okay, so yeah, and so also each engine also points to the server core, points to the license file. The license server file has to be updated, so you go by, more engines, you got to install it on the license file. It's just, and then you have to log on to the server core, tell the server core, I have more engines. Your editing text files are off. So there's a chance you put a typo in there, and then your server doesn't work. And so we want to get rid of that entire workflow. Okay. Yeah, so then the engines have to connect to the license server, they have to connect to the core, and let's just face it, it's a big support headache. It's our #1 support headache, and it's probably the #1 inconvenience to our users, right? When this goes wrong, nobody's happy. You're not happy, we're not happy, and so we just want to get rid of it. And so what we're going to do now, goodbye the license server. And so now what's going to happen? Each engine will only know about the server core. Because when an engine starts up, the first thing it does is talk to the server core anyway. So the server core is going to know how many engines are allowed to talk to it. Okay? And so much simpler. If you can't connect to the server core, well, it couldn't run anyway. And so we're a much bigger problem. So there we go. Much simpler deployment and more flexibility. Something that we're going to be able to do now is first licensing. Let's say this is your server workflow, and you have these demand peaks. How are you going to do that? Now you would say, well, it looks like at that peak you're going to need 800 engines. So buy 800 engines and all's good. And you say to us, well, I don't really need 800 engines. Any way you can help us? Right now we usually give you a bunch of engines for a short period of time. But now with this, because the server cores looking at the licensing, you'll be able to buy hours. And we won't care when you buy this in this moment how many engines you're connecting. You may change the number of engines at any time to meet your quarter or monthly, or maybe you have a crisis peaks. And much simpler. You'll just install an engine on the machine anywhere, tell it where the core is, and that's it.
Actually, I think Brian from BHI is here. Those guys are a big grinder of data, and they actually were the ones that got us thinking about this a few years ago, because they have a workflows where periodically they have huge amounts of stuff to grind and not. I don't remember if it was you, Brian, but we gave us the idea of using FME server as a screensaver. So in other words, you'd have FME servers sitting there on idle desktops, and then when the demand gets high, they could fire up all over.
Yeah. So benefit 2 is now that once we have this working on server, we can move this licensing technology. Use this licensing technology and have something like an FME workgroup hub, move the licensing there. You still only have one server, but now what you get is you can get the repository, all the benefits of a single FME server for backup and IT license, because now all the things. But then also you could plug in the back end GitHub or S3, and now you have a repository where you can start to push your workspaces. So that's another benefit of this technology. And then of course, we can simply move that. Once we have that, we're moving that to the cloud is the next logical step. And so now you can have a whole mechanism where the cloud is managing licenses for you, your organization across many locations. You don't even have to worry about if you can connect through your VPN or anything like that. As long as you can the cloud, you can work from anywhere. So that's the idea there. For 2015, the plan is to have the server one done. Of course, we're going to keep the FlexLM one there until we're sure that the other one is actually working. Okay. So what about FME Cloud? Ooh,
wow.
Yeah. Okay, right now FME Cloud deployment, we spent all our effort on launching an instance. As you can see, an instance itself is pretty simple. Everything is on one instance. We have the web layer, the queue, the database, and the FME engines. Okay. So where do we want to get to? So right now we're sort of powered by Amazon, but we're not really leveraging Amazon. Right? And so why do we want to do this? The reason we want to do this is another thing: reliability, scalability. We want better monitoring, fault tolerance, better what it's going to look like. Okay, so the first thing we have ELB, and that means we can load balance across multiple FME server instances, and they can be in different availability zones. So if one availability zone goes down, you'll have it in another one. Okay. Amazon RDS, we're going to move the database out of the same instance to Amazon RDS. Much more fault tolerant. If the core goes down again, everything is in Amazon RDS. Internally, we use Amazon RDS for all our application data when we use that in the cloud, and the performance here is huge. Amazon SQS. Right now, we're using our own server queue technology. Amazon has queue technology, so we'll change up the server core to use that. We've already done this work, we've just never turned it on. And then again, that queue is very reliable, very scalable. You can split these engines across multiple machines, and those all just work. And of course, Amazon S3, we talked about that a little earlier. All your shared resources will be able to be put in S3, and again, reliable, scalable, perform better. Okay. And CloudWatch. Right now, one of the things with FME server is we have this monitoring at the cloud level, it's coarse, and so we want to leverage CloudWatch. So when you start overloading your cloud instance, you're going to get emails saying, hey, you know what, you're pushing this machine harder, it's starting to bog down, too many jobs, so that then you will be notified so you can take action. And so that is what FME Cloud, that's what we're working towards. Okay. Also, multi-region support. Right now, we're only running in the US East, and there's these Amazon regions are everywhere, so we want to make sure that we are able to run and make FME Cloud available in all the regions. So if you're in Australia, use one in that area. If you're in Europe, you use one in Dublin, things like that. Yeah. And also Amazon Virtual Private Cloud. You want to have support for that. So then you can set up an instance and then plug it right into your own corporate IT so that it's within the same so you'll see it within your corporate infrastructure. We use VPC internally for our stuff and so we're pretty excited about that. So, yeah. Oh, then it makes bills, right?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, other than one thing to just mention, of course, we are using and bought into the Amazon cloud for the FME cloud service that we provide. But Sean from Google managed to get FME server working just fine with like a half a day of, 3 minutes of readings. So Sean, I'm very impressed, inside of the Google Compute Engine. So if you want to use Google Compute Engine, there's nothing stopping you. There's others that might want to use Microsoft Azure or any of these things. Work with us. We won't have the fancy bells and whistles of FME Cloud, but absolutely able to be deployed in those things.
That's right. And we have some who have just said, no, I want to put FME Cloud
I
on
think
Amazon myself. I'm sorry, yeah.
I think you've lost your mic, Don.
I lost my mic.
That must mean it's time for us to stop.
Must be time to stop. Yeah, so we've had other folks who just buy FME server and put it in EC2 themselves as well. So yeah, and right now we do only run an Amazon EC2, the instances themselves. You know, if you look out further, you could imagine you could have it running. You'd still have the same FME Cloud instance. Perhaps one day you could actually pick what platform you want to run it on.
So, thank you so much for a great morning here. I believe we have a break, and Leslie or Ashley can confirm, I think all the stuff is probably downstairs. Is that right? Yep, so head on down. There'll be coffee on the way there, and you can join your breakout sessions. We'll close the day back here after the break in the afternoon. So we'll see you all back here in the afternoon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.